American spacecraft did not crash in Roswell, New Mexico in 1947.
You know flat earthers, I guarantee it. But you don't know who they are because they're afraid of talking about it.
This is not a test. This is your emergency broadcast system.
Hello and welcome to the 57th annual Subliminal Deception Podcast, your weekly dose of conspiracy theory bullshit. My name is Cody and I'm joined by my pal Phil. How are you?
Doing good, buddy. How about yourself?
Not doing too bad. I know you had mentioned that you are currently cooking like bacon in Arizona, but here today in Minnesota, let me tell you, I think it's damn near 70 degrees out, and I was sweating today.
Yeah, it's been about, it was, I think, 98 yesterday, and it's getting up there today, too, so starting to hit that fucking time of the year.
You know what's funny? Obviously, you've grew up in the Midwest or whatever, but we were in that weird, 1 to 2 week span where you'd go from one day that's 50, 60, 70, everyone's not used to it, they're sweating. Then the next day it'd be raining and be 29. So it's in my room, you'd either have to turn on the space heater or sweat all night because it's too hot. So it's every day was a different temperature. It was quite a weird thing to live with, but now I think it's balancing out where it's just nice out.
Yeah, the weird thing is I had to use my heater Monday night because it got a little cold that night. And then Tuesday and Wednesday, that's the first days it got up into high 80s, 90s. So I went from having to use my heater just a few days ago to now I have my AC blasting pretty much 24/7.
I guess it's just that time of year.
Yeah.
So what's been going on? You got any cool stories to tell us?
I don't know if it's a cool story, but I had it's like a miraculous moment a couple days ago at Safeway. So I'm in the store, going there just to buy normal, I ran out of eggs, needed some bread, which they've been having for the past couple weeks now, which is good. But I actually walked by the toilet paper towel aisle, which normally has been completely fucking barren. They haven't had toilet paper or anything. Actually, 2 or 3 days ago when I went, they had not just generic paper towels, they had Bounty paper towels.
Damn, the quicker picker-upper.
Yeah, so it's almost America again. It's coming back. We're coming back, folks.
Here's what I've never understood, because since the shutdown and everything, even before that, I had yet to see a single toilet paper on any shelf, and there's signs that say one per customer, and I'm like, do these people come in every single day, buy all of them, just not leave any for anybody else, or what?
Yeah, pretty much from what I've heard is if you go to a Costco in the morning before they open, they'll have lines of people around the building just waiting to see if they have toilet paper or paper towels, shit like that. And then they'll go in there and it's just one per customer. But of course, it's all the 72 rolls in the package. So they'll take a big 72 fucking roll home and add it on to their other fucking, packs of 72 rolls. And it's a fucking couple, so they each take one. But
oh, right.
Fucking assholes.
You know what is another thing that I've noticed has a shortage of is video gaming systems.
Really?
Yeah, the Switch you can't buy. Forget it, you're not getting one. Apparently the PS4 you can't get one of those either, so I guess people need something to entertain themselves over the quarantine or whatever, but I never would have thought.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that. I guess it's a good point. Everyone was cooped up in their house, so they ran down and picked up a video game system. I've never actually tried to buy a Switch, but have those been hard to find?
I don't think so.
Quarantine or? Oh.
I don't. Maybe. I don't think so. I hadn't looked for him either, but now kind of considering it, because apparently they're a lot of fucking fun.
Yeah, I've heard they've got some pretty good games. My cousin was telling me, and my nephew was telling me that they've got some pretty good shit out right now. So
Yeah, I think one of the big pluses is a lot of Steam games, like you and I play, are converted onto the Switch, so you can just use a Switch to play Steam games instead of a PC or whatever. So that's kind of cool.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
That'd
That'd be pretty sweet.
Some of them, I don't know. I don't know about all of them. But anyway, let's shift forward here into Pauline Bennett's World of the Unusual. We didn't do it last week, but we're firing it away this week. And I think we have one here that might actually be a little appropriate for the time. We're kind of in a conspiracy period in the world right now. So it's titled Earth is Losing Its Gravity. Okay, now we know what crowd doesn't even believe gravity exists in the first place, so maybe Miss Bennett is leaning towards those people. What do you think so far?
Possibly. I mean, I think she was alive during the 80s. I don't know if the whole flat Earth thing. I don't know if you're supposed to say the name of them or not, but that whole flat Earth thing, I don't think started up in the 80s.
You know what? It's just my humor. I don't like to say it. I just like to imply it. So that way they can't be like, are you making fun of flat earthers? No, I didn't say flat earthers. I just said a certain group of people, didn't I? Anyway.
Yeah, if I say crazy conspiracy people, I could mean chemtrail people, flat earthers.
Yeah.
Who knows? Anything.
We don't discriminate here. All right. A terrifying new theory by a top scientist says that Earth's gravity is getting weaker, which could lead to the destruction of all life on the planet. Paul Wesson, professor of geophysics and astronomy at the University of British Columbia, says that the most recent measurements show that the moon is actually moving further away from the Earth. Weston believes that this is being caused by a weakening of the Earth's gravitational pull. The astounding gravity theory clashes with modern physics, which says that the Earth's gravity stays the same and never varies, which I think is what we've always heard. However, if Wesson's weak gravity theory is correct, the Earth could eventually lose its atmosphere. That is terrifying if that was even remotely true at all.
Yeah, that's kind of pretty weird. I think the Earth's gravity just has to do with its mass. So I don't think the Earth is getting any lighter. Really.
Are you calling Professor Paul Wesson a liar, Phil?
Yeah, possibly. Well, I mean, the reason that the moon is getting further away, I don't mean to get in a science thing. So when the moon was first created, it was like super close to the Earth compared to it is now. And it's been slowly moving away like ever since. And one day it's going to be like extremely far away from the Earth. Obviously not for millions, billions of years. But.
Yeah, I was going to say, I assume we'd be long dead by that point.
Oh, yeah. Humans will be long dead. Barry Soetoro will still be, he'll be out there in his spaceship terrorizing some other planet.
Obviously, he's going to be here. Anyway, second story here. Bigfoot scares off campers. A group of campers in an isolated wilderness area were horrified by the hair-raising screams and the sudden appearance of a massive Bigfoot creature. One of the frightened members said that the creature was 8 foot tall, covered with solid black hair, and had eerie white eyes. Milk Waldrop said he was fishing with his friend while their wives slept in the nearby camp located in Sitting Bull Falls, New Mexico. Ooh, you love New Mexico, Phil.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite places on Earth.
When he was startled by a blood frenzy. What? A blood freezing scream? I've never heard that expression before. What the hell? Anyway.
That's weird.
It's a New Mexico terminology, apparently. He says there's a weird kind of bellow behind the scream. It was loud and horrifying. Driving back to the camp in the dark night woods, the two men heard something that was crawling about the parked station wagon where the women were sleeping. Ooh, Bigfoot's a creeper. Thinking it might be a deer. They aimed the headlights of their truck at the brush near the station wagon. Suddenly, another terrible scream shattered the stillness. The shaking campers started their vehicles and drove off. As they left, Waldrop caught a glimpse of the massive creature near a tree lit for a moment by his headlights. Okay, alright, well, so he barely even got a glimpse at it, but he's convinced this is a Bigfoot.
Once again, terrorized by the foreign phenom, Dirk fucking Nowinski strikes again. Knew it. I knew it. It's always Dirk Nowinski.
I figured, I think I found the true culprit here. I think their wives were 69ing each other.
Possibly. The beast.
Anyway, let's hear Madam Bennett's prediction for the week. The women's liberation movement will suffer a giant setback when it is learned that one of the leaders was a man who had a sex change operation. Okay, Madam Bennett, that's outdated and not very nice, but apparently that is what she believes is going to happen, but I'm pretty sure that didn't happen.
That's a little bit ahead of its time the past decade with the whole transgender issues coming about.
Yeah, that's right. Well, apparently Madam Bennett is not very aware of current politics, right?
No, she's hardly woke at all.
Anyway, Phil, why don't you take it away and lead us into this week's conspiracy?
Well, I got a pretty big one this week, so it's probably going to be a two-parter.
Let's hear it.
Have you ever heard of King James's book, Daemonology?
Okay, yeah, I thought you were going to say King James's Bible.
No.
Okay, is it demonology or daemonology?
Well, it's spelled Daemonologie. But I believe it could be demonology.
I think that's the old-timey way of spelling Barry Soetoro.
Yeah. His middle name.
Yeah.
King James VI, the 16th century Scottish king, would come to be known as the Cradle King, as he was made King of Scotland at the young age of 13 months old. And this was after his mother, Mary, the Queen of Scots, was imprisoned by Elizabeth I. And this came after she was forced to abdicate the throne of Scotland in 1567. So it's thought that James VI's fascination with magic and the dark arts came after he was told that his mother's death was foreseen by seers as a bloodied head dancing in the air before her death while she was in captivity. This happened in 1587.
Okay, so if you have a dream about a dancing head, it could be considered a premonition?
Yeah, I guess that the seers who foretold his mother's death must have, I don't know if it was a hallucination or a dream, whatnot, but they claim to have seen her bloodied dancing head in the air. And this precluded her 1587 death.
Okay, well, you know what? I gotta say, I've had some pretty wild nightmares in my life, but I don't know if I've ever seen someone's dancing bloody head. Although, I'm in the camp that people around this time, charlatans were like roaches. They were just everywhere.
Oh, definitely. Just using their little fucking con tricks for profiteering, especially if you're around the king.
I was gonna ask too, before you go any further, did anybody ever call him Jim or Jimmy?
I don't think so. No, I don't think anyone ever called him Jimmy.
Okay, alright. That was my main question.
Yeah, he was probably a pretty formal dude. I'm doubting he had any buddies calling him Jimmy. Inviting him over to the fucking house for the beer at night.
Inviting him out to go coon hunting? Yeah, I don't think so. Anyway, continue on.
Hey, Jimmy, I need your help in the tobacco fields. You mind coming out? Yeah, shout out, Jimmy. So, King James was able to live out his fascination with magic when a storm came upon the ships that were accompanying James and his new wife, Princess Anne of Denmark. He had traveled to Denmark to retrieve his new wife after a storm had stopped the princess from traveling to Scotland, which she had planned to before the marriage. While he was accompanying her to Scotland across the North Sea, a storm hit the ships, and they had to turn back towards the shore and escape the storm on the Norwegian coast.
Okay. Well, I mean, I can't imagine a ship made out of strudel probably works that great.
No, exactly. If it was, the Denmark people's specialty, then I don't think strudel.
I was going to say they probably have a strudel ship and then 2 giant bratwursts to row it, so probably doesn't work that great.
Definitely. So during the storm, one of the Danish admirals claimed that it must have been witchcraft, and he believed that it was caused by the wife of an administrator that he had insulted. James recently met with Danish theologians and discussed the matter of witchcraft, and believed that the violent storms must have been the work of witches. And because of the perceived assassination attempt, witch hunters were unleashed in both Scotland and Denmark.
Okay, yeah, it's tale as old as time, isn't it?
Yeah,
Unleash
definitely.
the fucking Hansel and Gretel witch hunters here.
Yeah, I like especially how, like, the most senior person on the ship, the admiral, just immediately is like, oh, fuck. That one chick I called a bitch, it must have been her.
The one lady, I told her that her fucking schnitzel sucked. Oh, fuck, she got us good. So, what I was gonna say here is, I was literally listening to, have you ever heard of the movie Killing of the Sacred Deer?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so it's on Amazon Prime. It's free right now. I'd actually recommend people watching it if you like kind of a weird movie. But apparently, the story is that they need to travel by sea, and there's like something stopping them, and they think it's witchcraft, and they have to make a sacrifice to the gods and all this horse shit. But once you watch the movie, you kind of understand. But anyway, what I'm saying is if something's wrong with ocean weather, all of a sudden it's witchcraft or like something, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like they didn't think weather existed.
Oh, definitely. And it's weird that even in this time when they were a little bit like further away, but they were starting to think of things in like the idea of science and like, well, this comes from this and this happens from this. Like 2,000 years ago, they would have thought Poseidon was coming after them.
Yeah. Well, apparently Poseidon is like the biggest cocksucker in the world.
Yeah, he's definitely flattened more fucking boats than anything.
He's a dick, I'll tell you that much.
Definitely. So in Denmark, there was an investigation into the near destruction of the fleet, and Danish finance minister Christopher Dolkendorf was accused of ill-equipping the fleet for the journey back to Scotland. However, he came back with a defense that witches were the cause of the storm, and he even knew who the perpetrators were. So super convenient and lucky for him.
I was gonna say, I wish this excuse still worked. Like, say, you're at a restaurant, you're eating, your food comes out a little burnt or something, and you're like, what happened here? The server looks at you and says, them fucking witches again. God damn it. You just blame everything on witches.
Definitely. I mean, you could totally use this at work.
Yeah.
If you're supposed to be fixing or making something and it comes out fucked up, your boss is like, God damn it, what the fuck is wrong with you today? Just be like, ugh.
Witches.
Fucking witches.
You ask your boss for a raise and he's just like, I can't do it. The witches got me by the balls here. I can't do shit for you, man. Come on. It's not me. It's the witches, man.
Yeah, definitely something we need to bring back. The witch was the woman known as Karen the Weaver, who had summoned the demon to climb the keel of the ship and put the storm upon the fleet.
Okay. Well, she has a witchy name. I'll give her that.
Definitely. I don't know if like the Weaver is her title or job or her last name. All it says is her name's Karen, followed by the Weaver. So. Well,
most Karens are witches, so let's shout out Karens of the world.
That's true. And Judas.
Yeah.
So Karen would be arrested in July of 1590, and she would soon confess, implementing other women in the plot, including Anna Calding, who was considered to be a very dangerous witch
Oh.
who was and she would also implement other women, including the wife of the mayor of Copenhagen and 4 other women.
So is the mayor a male or female?
No, she implemented the wife of the mayor.
Oh, the wife of the mayor. My bad. Okay, well, I've heard Copenhagen is known for its witches, but yeah, it reminds me of the story as old as time. Back in this day, especially when they capture someone who's believed to be a witch, the tortures are so immense that they just start spitting out names of people.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I imagine if she would have implemented the mayor of Copenhagen instead of the mayor's wife, she probably would have gotten a hearty fucking fist across her face and been told, "Try again, bitch."
Yeah, that strudel-ass motherfucker, he ain't no witch.
Yeah, you might want to tell us a woman's name next. So Anna Calding confessed that she and the other women had come together at Karen the Weaver's house and summoned the storm that had first delayed the princess, which is the storm that forced King James to take a boat all the way to Denmark to pick her up.
Did they ever ask why they made a storm?
I'm guessing that it didn't come up.
Okay, I was just gonna say, any reason why you would conjure up a storm? Or you just decided to just make a storm? Okay, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know what their beef living in Denmark is with the King of Scotland, but, you know, whatever. To each their own, I guess.
Maybe they just didn't want a ginger in their country.
That's true. Could have been. So Anna Calding, along with 12 other women, were eventually burned at the stake in Denmark.
Yep, that's usually what happens in these witch hunts.
Oh yeah, especially in these Reformation countries, they really enjoyed burning witches at the stake.
That's true.
Yeah. So after hearing news of the witches in Denmark, James decided to find out if there were any involvement from the witches in Scotland as well.
Well, there's witches in Scotland now.
Oh, of course there's witches in Scotland.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely, especially for James. So a servant girl named Gilly Duncan had been accused of witchcraft after her employer, David Seaton, noticed that she had been acting very strangely, and it was discovered that she had been sneaking out at night and had recently developed the ability to miraculously heal others.
Okay, well, I mean, that's not a bad witch, though, is it?
No, not really. I mean, she's just, she likes to help others, but...
Well, I'm convinced at this point, either she is the descendants of a basketball player or descendants develop drive-through coffee and donut shop.
Yeah, she definitely sounds like Jelly Duncan.
Yeah,
so.
Dunkin' Donuts, baby.
Yeah, when I first read that, I started laughing. I guess her real name is it's hard to say. It's like Geloise or something like that. But
okay,
they call her Gelly.
Okay, man, it's a lot easier to say.
So when confronted, Gelly denied being in league or even meeting with the devil, but still couldn't explain her miraculous healing abilities. So she denied it at first, but they definitely wanted to know what the fuck was up with her being able to heal people.
Okay, so does it say, what she healed, or she just healed people? Did someone have a paper cut, she kissed it, and it was all better, or is it just, I
don't really know. It just said that she had developed a miraculous ability to heal people.
Okay, alright. Well, you know what? That's not a bad power. I wish people actually had this power.
Yeah, the weird thing is, right away when I saw this story, I was thinking, it's always you hear about an employer or someone who's the boss of someone else claiming that they're a witch, and it's usually because they won't have sex with them. You always kind of assume that. I think there was an SNL skit about that, about the Salem witch trials, how one of the witches was accused because she would never have sex with any of the men, so they were all accusing her of being a witch.
The sad part is that's probably not far off.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's not very, very off.
Well, the truth about the Salem witch trials that I know is, first and foremost, it was started by children. And second off, a lot of witch hunts people didn't know that erectile dysfunction was a thing, so they blamed it on a witch's curse because they couldn't get a boner anymore.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. So after a great deal of torture and the discovery of the devil's mark on her neck, Gelly confessed and named accomplices.
Of course
And
she did. All right.
Yeah, after a decent amount of getting the fuck beaten out of her.
Yeah, probably that, burning, putting stakes through your feet and arm. Yeah, it's...
Definitely. So some of the accomplices she named were John Fian, a local schoolmaster and alleged coven leader and wizard.
Would he be a warlock, though?
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, I don't know if they actually made that distinction back then, but I think it was just like everyone was a witch, like witchcraft.
Okay, all right.
Agnes Sampson, a respected local midwife and healer, and she'll become important in the story later on.
Okay.
And Agnes Thompson of Edinburgh. Barbara Napier, who was the widow of Earl Archibald Douglas VIII, Earl of Agnes. It's a lot to say. And she was actually accused of killing her husband, bewitching him to death pretty much.
Okay, all right. So that probably means he died of a heart attack or something.
Or just shitting himself to death, because people did just shit themselves to death back then.
Right.
So, Francis Stewart, who was the first Earl of Bothwell and cousin to the king.
Okay.
Euphemia Macklin, the daughter of Lord Cliftonhall, with whom she conspired to kill her godfather. And these are the more important people. These are some pretty fucking important people. I mean, back then, even having a last name, you were decently important. A lot of these are like Lord of, like the daughter of the Lord of Cliftonhall. This guy was a first Earl, the wife of, an Earl. There's a lot of really important people in here.
It almost is like she was being tortured and she spit out the people's names that she's probably heard before, which would have been people in royalty, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, if you were getting tortured nearly to death and they were saying, give me fucking names, give me names, you would eventually just be like, the guy who cuts my meat down at the butcher shop, the chick who runs the bar down the walk, I suppose these were the most famous people in the area. Like, it's a good point.
Like if you or I were being tortured, we'd be like, Barry Soetoro's a witch, Gordon Ramsay's a witch,
Paul Hogan, of
Paul
course.
Hogan's a witch, Sylvester Stallone's a witch. Like that's who we'd call out.
The mayor of Pittsburgh.
You know what?
The coven leader.
We need to watch out because I saw something on like Reddit that Gordon Ramsay's in a cooking competition and he's losing to someone who isn't even a chef.
Oh shit! He's about to be found out.
Is
he
there
got taken over by a reptilian years ago.
I was gonna say we need to watch out. Is there any more Kennedys that can be killed? Because if he loses, we gotta protect the Kennedys.
If that fucking cooking competition and he brought out human flesh. Shit! I forgot. Took it back.
I could just see him making like a cake or something, a Rice Krispie snack, but it's like actually a model of JFK's head during the gunshot. Just throw a message to everybody in the world.
Yeah, that'd be pretty fucking weird.
Anyway, continue on.
It had a little hole right in his temple. And these were people that she had accused, and there were many others, but I kind of cut it off there because those were the important people. During the witch trials, it had been discovered that an even larger plot had been committed by these witches. Now, this plot was committed by some 200 witches who had met in North Berwick to create the storm that had first stalled the princess and also the storm that nearly capsized the fleet.
Damn.
It came out also.
Damn, 200 witches.
Yeah, definitely. And it also came out that the meeting had been presided over the devil himself because he considered himself King James's greatest enemy on earth.
The devil. The devil doesn't like old King Jimmy.
Yep. He considered King James his greatest enemy on earth. So that's pretty telling to who the audience is coming to, those words.
Alright, I feel like the King of Hell might have more important things to do than, than stopping him, but apparently not.
Yeah, I'm guessing the torturers might have led them in that direction, or just went ahead and told King James, like, oh, the devil considers you his powerfulest enemy on earth, you know?
Yeah.
Just to butter him up a little bit, get them out of the dungeons.
True.
So about 70 people in Scotland were charged and taken prisoner under suspicion of using magic to raise the storm that nearly sunk the boats, carrying back King James and Princess Anne to Scotland. Now, the 70 suspects were all from the village of North Berwick, which is northeast of Edinburgh along the coast. And Edinburgh is on the east coast of Scotland, for anyone who doesn't know that one.
Well, I was going to say, you and I, we have been to Edinburgh, and I'll tell you what, Phil, it was witchy.
Yeah, that city, it's one of my favorite cities to visit up in, when I was in Great Britain.
It's very witchy.
It's very old.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Definitely. So most of the suspected men and women confessed to the attempted regicide, and this, of course, was after a healthy dose of torture, claiming that they had formed the storms using spells and rituals. Now, this was done by attaching the severed genitals and limbs of a dead man to a cat, then throwing it into the sea, which whipped up the storms that were sent to destroy the fleet of ships.
Putting severed genitals on a cat.
Yep, severed genitals and limbs of a dead man on a cat.
Okay, I mean, I guess, like you said, you don't trust cats either, but I don't know what a dick on a cat's gonna do.
I don't know. It's, I mean, all of this will kind of make a little bit of sense, like, later on when I talk about how these confessions were formed. But yeah, definitely, that caught my eye, because I know that you're a cat person.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I thought you'd appreciate that one.
I mean, here's the real question. Is the magic coming from the penis, or is it coming from the cat? Or is it like when you combine like Mentos and Coke, you get a chemical reaction? Like, are the two of them being brought together? What causes the magic? Or are they, one has more magic, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. A cat is inherently evil, so I don't know what adding the limbs and genitals of a dead man does to it. But. So James didn't necessarily believe this after he had first heard about the many confessions. He decided to take a much more active role in the investigation, deciding to interrogate one of the main suspects personally. And her name was Agnes Sampson, the midwife implemented in Gelly's first confession, who I brought up before. You remember?
Yep. You don't forget a name like Agnes, I'll tell you that much.
Yep. She was brought in front of the king at Holyrood House in Edinburgh, also known as Holyrood Palace nowadays.
Okay.
It still stands.
I wonder if we saw it when we were there.
I don't think so, because it's not like a historical place. It's still a palace that's owned by the Queen of England. So it's not some place that you can go to.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I mean, you can probably go to the gates and see what the palace looks like. I don't think you can actually tour it though.
Ah, okay. I just remember that castle right in the middle of the city.
Oh, the one up on the hill?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a different, that's not a palace, that's a castle. So that was more of a defensive thing.
Okay. Yeah,
and that's a historical site too, which is why you could pay money to go in there, but we didn't pay the money to take the tour, so.
Nah, we were poor there.
We were pretty broke, so, especially after that trip. So while being questioned by James, Agnes denied vehemently the allegations that were levied towards her, and this enraged the king. She was promptly sent back to the dungeons, where she had all of the hair shaved off of her head and her entire body. And you know that was not done carefully or nicely.
No. Her
Definitely
whole
not.
body, Jesus Christ, okay.
Yeah. She was forced to stand for days with a witch's bridle on her head. And a witch's bridle is basically like a large, metal and wood object that has it has 4 spikes that go into the mouth, 2 into the tongue, and then 2 back into the cheek.
Oh, God. Oh,
So anytime you move your mouth, it's just immensely painful.
yeah.
And she was deprived of sleep and forced to stand for many days.
Poor girl.
Yeah. Even through all of that bullshit, she did not submit and only confessed after her torturers put a rope around her neck and wrenched on her head for hours. After that, she decided to confess and was taken back to the king and his court to confess.
I mean, I can only imagine at that point, with all the torture, it's kind of like I'd rather them just kill me, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. That's what a lot of people think nowadays is what actually caused you to confess. When you finally broke and just said, okay, fuck it, kill me. Because once you confessed to being a witch, then they killed you. So,
right.
yeah. So Agnes confessed to witchcraft, to which James, apparently he jumped up on a table and shouted at her that she was a liar. Like very, showmanly.
Okay. That's what he wanted to hear, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So Agnes actually pulled him to the side and whispered into James's ear a conversation that the king and his wife had had, to which James claimed were true, and decided that the rest of her confessions must also be true. The words that Agnes spoke into his ear were apparently the words that he and his wife had had in a private pillow talk situation on their wedding night. And he claimed that they could not have been overheard by anyone else. And this was besides, of course, himself and his queen.
Okay. I wonder if it was like...
Yeah.
I was
sex.
I was just going to say, I was like, the queen asked Jimmy, Jimmy asked her, she's like, Jimmy asked her, hey, did you finish too? And she just like, yeah, of course I did, Jimmy. You're the best. How did she know? How did she know?
I'm guessing that's where he asked her to call him Big Jimmy for the first time. Could you call me Big Jimmy? So I should mention that he claimed that no one would know what he said besides himself and his queen. That the consummation of a royal marriage back then would definitely not have been private. There would have been many noble witnesses present at the event. So.
So in his mind, he thinks it's a secret, but it's really not.
Yeah, no, it's not. I mean, he might not have noticed that there was 20 other people in the room, but there definitely was more people in the room than just the two of them.
What are they all doing in there? They're like cheering him on and high-fiving him?
They might have high-fived after he finished. They were making sure that they had sex, that the marriage was consummated, and that there would be a prince or,
a princess.
An heir born.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. So the torture that was used to get conventions out of witches at the time was very brutal, including the ripping out of fingernails, crushing of feet, using a device called a breast ripper, which apparently is exactly what it sounds like.
Oof.
Yeah. And also the device that I already mentioned called the witch's bridle.
I was thinking about when you're describing like the witch's bridle, I'm assuming in their mind that meant that if their mouths were kind of in that position or whatever, they couldn't speak a spell or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that actually, I didn't think about that, but that's a good point.
Well, I kind of figured that's what it is, because they're holding their tongue and they're not allowing them to move their mouth too much, because they're in their heads they think they could cast a spell or something.
Yeah, and have the devil come out and bust him out of prison. That's a really good point, actually.
The devil just starts throwing dicks on cats and conjures up a tsunami inside the castle or something. I don't know.
He just jumps up from hell. Cat dick, and then an earthquake splits open the palace.
I just imagine like a cat and the dick. It's kind of like the Megazord on Power Rangers. It just fuses and all this like cool anime music plays, and then there's just destruction everywhere.
You see the cat walking on the human hands and human feet, looking like a spider.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. So this was all done along with sleep deprivation, which actually was probably the most effective means of getting these false confessions out of the witches. After a few days of sleep deprivation, you start to get waking hallucinations. Basically, you're dreaming while awake. your brain is completely resetting at that point. And the witch investigators could then count these hallucinations as a confession.
Well, I was going to say, we probably know quite a bit about sleep deprivation simply because of this crazy witchy drug known as methamphetamine.
How do we know about that?
Well, we know meth heads, right?
Oh, I thought you meant us.
I'm saying, okay, no,
I don't use meth.
We don't use meth, but coming from Iowa, we knew a lot of meth heads who didn't sleep, and they get turned up. They get a little crazy.
Yeah, I remember hearing the story about, I'm not going to mention any names, but that dude who fell asleep at the stop sign with his foot on the brake and got woken up the next morning.
By police officers?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's after a meth head doesn't sleep for a few days.
Yeah.
I could see them. I could see meth heads confessing to a lot after not sleeping for a week.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Some of the shit that you hear them say.
Yeah.
Or the homeless people you see, like, talking all the crazy shit.
Right.
Out here.
Right.
So some of the revelations that came out of the torture from the 70 accused were that they had sailed to North Berwick for the gatherings with Satan. Also that they had danced with the devil and kissed his buttocks.
Wow.
Okay. Yep. Definitely. It was a big night for them. Digging up the corpses from St. Andrew's graveyard, dismembering them, and tying the limbs to a christened dead cat, and then throwing that cat into the sea to conjure up the storm to kill the king. And also collecting venom from a black toad to be used to poison the king.
Okay. Okay, the toad thing makes about the most sense out of all of this.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, that is the only... You could actually get venom to kill someone.
Yeah.
Like, that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if that came just from an oddball person who got little pins stuck in their hand and they just immediately confessed. But it was something that actually made sense because they hadn't been sleep deprived for 5 days.
Probably.
So it's not known how many of the 70 accused witches were executed or how many of them died in captivity. What is known is that Gelly and Agnes Sampson were both garroted and then burned. So they basically had a rope tied around their neck and then were burned at the stake.
Okay, yeah.
Or in a cart.
I mean, it's horrible, obviously, and we're joking in all of this, but seems like the burning of the witch on a stake or whatever seems to be the most common practice, especially around this time period.
Definitely. Yeah, I'll mention it next week, but actually in England, they didn't really burn witches at the stake. They hung them. But in Scotland and Denmark, they were definitely burned alive.
Well, and Germany too. I think the Germany witch hunters were very big on the burning and all of that.
Yeah, it was anywhere that like the Reformation apparently like really took place, they were using fire to kill witches. So I don't know if they just mentioned that there was like a correlation between places that like were affected by the Reformation and burning of witches. So
I don't know for certain, and I don't know if you know for certain. The fucking witch hunting manual. I can never say it. The Maleficarum something another. Have you heard of this book?
No, I haven't.
So basically, it was created by somebody as a guideline about how to find out if someone's a witch and like what to do to them, which is basically torturing them and killing them, more or less. It's still a book. I'm pretty sure you can literally buy the, reprints of the book or whatever. It's just like the craziest shit you've ever heard in it.
Okay, so I just looked it up. It was called the Malus Maleficarum, and it was made in Germany by a Catholic clergyman, Heinrich Kramer. Yep, and the year was 1486. So they definitely would have either known about this or maybe even had it back then.
As far as I remember, like during the Salem witch trials, they were using this book. So this book has been around for a long fucking time.
Yeah, that's interesting. I had actually never heard about that, so
Yeah,
it wasn't brought up in any of this, but yeah, that's crazy.
well, I'm sure they probably, old King Jimmy probably modified it for his liking or some horse shit.
Oh yeah, definitely. He was definitely a writer that we'll find out in next week's episode. So
I'm predicting a poet.
yeah, of sorts. So after the witch trials, King James actually wrote a pamphlet called The News from Scotland, which detailed his experiences with the North Berwick witch trials, raising the fear of witchcraft in his people of Scotland and eventually the people of England. Because
So
King James would eventually create a book entitled Demonology, which was meant to stop people from being so skeptical about the existence of witches and witchcraft.
So you're telling me they actually had naysayers back then? They didn't just assume that witches were a real thing.
Yeah, apparently there were people who could think. Maybe these were the people who actually learned how to read and went past the 5th grade. But if they even, I don't think they had grades back then. It was probably just someone your parents knew who could read, taught you how to read.
I guess it makes sense, but goddamn, it's hard to imagine people, in the late 1500s who were like, I don't really think witches exist. I think this is just, hysteria or whatever, but apparently people have always been able to use their brain, right?
Yeah. Well, another thing that's crazy too is it's amazing to me that like someone as powerful as a king and who has like a life like that would actually take his time to like write shit. He wrote a book. He wrote this pamphlet. He wrote other things, obviously King James Bible. He rewrote that, but he did some shit. He was one of the longest reigning monarchs of all time also.
Really?
Considering he took the throne at 13 months old and he lived to be very old, so.
Okay. I mean, that's a long reign, I suppose.
Yeah, I do think that the Queen of England has surpassed him. The current Queen,
one,
Elizabeth.
Okay.
Yeah, she surpassed him, I think.
I was gonna say, because not only is she a demigod, I think she is like 105 years old.
Fuck, she might be King James, just reincarnated a few different times.
I think her hats are older than most kings and queens throughout history.
That's true. I think she might have a lizard underneath those hats, but no one's ever gotten a good look.
No.
So after the North Berwick witch trials, there were about 3,100 people who would be accused of witchcraft in Scotland, with over 1,300 of them being executed.
Jesus, that has to be like a quarter of the population of Scotland at this time.
I think there might have been a few more people than that. But yeah, Scotland was a pretty rural place back then. But it doesn't say, it says 3,100 people accused of witchcraft. Over 1,300 being executed. You got to think too, there must have been some people who died of torture in prison also, who were never legally executed.
Right. That's a good point, actually.
Yeah.
I was just thinking like the, Braveheart, let's say Braveheart, right? Did they, I don't remember them speaking about witches at all in that, did they?
No, but they were a pretty superstitious people, I remember in that movie. That movie, obviously, that took place hundreds of years before this all happened, but...
So you would assume they'd be even more superstitious.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's neither here nor there. Anyway, so...
In Holyrood House, the palace in which Agnes Sampson was interrogated and eventually executed, apparently her ghost still haunts the palace to this day, with the first reported sighting occurring in 1591. And people have heard screaming coming from the basement of the palace, which is where she would have been imprisoned and tortured. And the ghostly image of a woman, naked and completely bald, has been seen in the halls. Now this ghost is also said to show signs in her body that she was tortured.
You know what? Fuck yeah, Agnes. Get revenge.
Definitely. Her ghost has been holding it up for about 400 years, so
yeah,
doing pretty good there.
I'm guessing she wishes she probably wasn't haunting some old house and do whatever you do after you die, but you know what, Agnes? Fuck 'em. Keep scaring people.
Yeah, I mean, it is probably one of the nicer places in Scotland that you could, haunt. So I imagine it's not a horrible place to hang out in the afterlife. So the naked ghost of Agnes Sampson is said to be one of the most famous ghosts in all of Great Britain.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's cool because I mean the palace is still like used as a royal estate for the royal family once the kingdoms merged.
Okay.
So I mean it's not just a historical site; it's still a palace under use, somewhat. But so some of the recent sightings of Bald Agnes, which the ghost has been known to be called or has become known to be called, in 2014 sighting when a maintenance man saw her limping towards him down a well-lit hallway. And when the man let out a scream, the ghost, he said, evaporated.
Okay, very, very common for ghosts to do.
Yeah. In the 1990s, when during a visit by the Chancellor of Germany, a young diplomat entered an office and saw the naked Agnes floating in midair with outstretched arms. The diplomat ran out of the office, screaming in terror. And obviously, he probably sounded a little crazy when he told his story to all of his friends, but
Can only imagine.
yeah. The weird thing about that is when I first heard it, I saw a thing where apparently when they forced Agnes to stand, they tied her arms up so that she was standing kind of with outstretched arms.
Oof.
So
Okay, I see where the correlation is. So it's like her hands up, not her hands. I was picturing the hands in front of her. You know what I mean?
no, and they made it sound like he saw the ghost with outstretched arms, kind of like someone's gonna give you a big hug.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
Yeah,
So in her tortures, they tied her up that way.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's how. That's what I found that she was tied up like when she was tortured. So when she had the witch's bridle on her head
Okay, interesting. All right.
and made to stand for those few days. So Agnes Sampson is also referenced in the 7th episode of American Horror Story Apocalypse as the inventor of a poison that only affects men.
Okay, I remember this now. I don't remember the name, but I remember this. Interesting.
Yeah, I've watched a few episodes of American Horror Story. I've never seen Apocalypse, but I've heard it's a pretty good show.
For Apocalypse, you almost have to watch the very first season and Coven to understand Apocalypse, I believe. But anyway,
I've been told I have to start from the beginning and watch the whole thing. So
I mean, there's a few seasons you don't have to watch because they're kind of stupid. But first, second season, Coven's good. The Carnival one's good.
I've heard the Carnival one was really good.
That's cool.
Yeah. So in part 2, I'm going to be talking a lot more about King James and his book Demonology, some of the views that he had that helped shape his interpretation loosely of the Bible, and the Witchfinder General, Matthew Hopkins.
Oh.
And yeah, so Matthew Hopkins, his old stomping grounds was in East Anglia, where I used to live, the place that we were hanging out. So
Okay. Wow. You mean
a lot of familiar cities out there.
You mean in England where you were staying?
Yeah, in England.
Okay. So he was up there, the Witch Hunter General, or like
Yeah, he just northeast of London. Yeah, that's where he used to go around. So it's a pretty interesting story.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah,
cool.
I was actually gonna do the whole thing just on him, and then in the history for this, I started reading all this other stuff, and I was like, oh shit, this is gonna be a 2-parter. So
I mean, it's good because you basically filled in all the backstory that's leading up to this guy, essentially, right?
yeah, definitely. I'm also gonna look up that Malus Marcanum book too, and talk a little bit about that maybe, because that seems pretty interesting. I've never heard of it.
It is. I actually wanted to buy the physical copy of it just to have it, but because it's obviously completely batshit crazy when you read it nowadays, but
Was it written on dog skin or something like that? One of those old books?
I wouldn't. It's probably written on a rolled out dried penis or something for all we know. But anyway, yeah, that was great, Phil. I can't wait to hear part 2, and I know people will be anticipating that because when you hear a title called Witch Hunter General, that sounds interesting immediately. But if they want to contact us, where can they do that, Phil?
They can hit us up on our email, subliminaldpodcast@gmail.com. They can also get a hold of us. Probably the easiest way to get a hold of us is on Instagram. We are at Subliminal Deception Podcast on IG. And we also have our own. Mine is at STPodPhil. With this whole shut-in bullshit, I'm using it a lot more, so get a hold of me on there. Cody, you got a couple?
Yeah, you can follow my personal Instagram at Cody'sAbub. I've been hit up by some people or contacted by people, just talking about the show or topics or anything like that. I appreciate it. I love it. I love communicating about whatever you want to talk about. So thank you to those who have reached out to me. If you're looking for another podcast to check out and you're into true crime, paranormal, and stuff like that, look up my other podcast, Bumblebutt Podcast. Search for that on Instagram or whatever platform you prefer to listen to podcasts. The last thing we need you guys to do is to log on to iTunes, leave the show a 5-star review. Doesn't really matter what you say, preferably written. Otherwise, if you're a Spotify user, just hit the follow button and you will always be informed when we drop a new episode. So thank you guys to everybody who's done that already. If you haven't, please take a few minutes out of your day to do that for us. Otherwise, like I said, fantastic episode. People are fucking crazy in the witch hunting time period, and I can't wait to hear more about King James's book on demonology and this witch hunter general. So we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Thanks, guys.